or make you wish you was dead. So always have on your mind safety. Wear your shield. We was over one time to Howes, and I seen Tom take one off like a foul tip off a baseball, hit him square in the helmet. Without the helmet, he'd probably been dead or worse. I mean, it came off so fast, it was just unbelievable. And you always say, well, I made it this time. Now, I'm going to do something a little different tonight so I can talk, because they're hard to talk through. I'm going to wear my safety goggles. With plywood, you're going to see, if you turn plywood, it throws out chips like nothing else. The only thing that I've seen worse was turn sassafras. But other than that, it's going to have chips. Well, to begin, plywood. You say, well, what kind of plywood do we need? Can I just take any plywood? No. Do not buy construction
Put it right on the wood.
Do not buy construction grade plywood. And the reason for that, it's full of voids. Any void will be a catch later on down the road. So the less voids the better you'll be. I'm buying Baltic birch, or I'm buying Chinese birch, either one. A good cabinet grade, if it has veneer. Count the veneer, that's critical. And I'll show you a reason on something I did this evening. I thought I could get away with it, but I didn't. So there's a piece of, this is Chinese birch here. Baltic will come in oddball sizes, but it doesn't matter because you're cutting it into strips anyway. Baltic will be a 5 by 5 or a 5 by 6. They can't measure 8 foot long.
Where do you get it at, Carl?
Where? I used to get it out of, if you go to cabinet shops, usually, well, you can get it through some of them. If you know if anybody owns a cabinet shop.
Home Depot, huh?
Home Depot will have Chinese. You could get Lowe's would have. Now there's a guy, and I don't know for sure, but there was a guy over off of Roosevelt. He might can get it, and I'll have a name. The next club, I'll have a name and a number if you call. But if you know cabinet people, just stop them. They'll give you scrap. All of mine came from when I worked school district maintenance. I just got scrap. So I had a pretty good supply until I retired. But Home Depot will have it. Lowe's has it. But you got to make sure, look, if you're cutting your strips, if it's got voids in it, eliminate your voids. You start out in a square. I'm making 8-inch bowls. That's 9 by 9. I'll make them 3 1/4 tall, and that makes. I like making an 8-inch bowl. That's a uniform size. 6 inch too small for me. 10 inches is a little bit large for most people, but at 8 makes just a general good size bowl. And we're going to look at a couple other ideals as we get into this. I made up a couple of candlestick holders. They're easy to make.
Put it right on the bed.
Nice novelty. Women like to decorate with them. Usually they're good to throw at the squirrels. And the men have a different view of the world than the women do, and I guess that's okay. And you see, you can get a little battery, and the battery's dead on this one, but you can get a little battery operated light that comes from I think Walmart had them, Hobby Lobby will have them, or the same size diameter hole. You can get your traditional candle, and it'll fit in the same thing. And as you make these, you'll glue up into I didn't bring it with me, but they're just a little square off of the end of one of them if you wanted to, but usually I'm making up them, I glue them all up and don't cut them off. Turn it to a cylinder, and this one here just happens to be about 2 5/8. You can make them whatever diameter, you can make them whatever length, you can make them whatever design. I found these are a pretty unique design, and I thought once when I made these, if I'd take a piece of cardboard and make a couple of wings, you could almost have an angel, because it's kind of designed in the angel shape. But there's your imagination can go wild on designing or how tall you want them or really what you want to do. And then I've got this one on the lathe, and we'll set up and I'll show you on how deep to drill your hole for what we're doing. We're drilling an 1.5-inch hole. And
Carl, you had a question back over here.
What type of glue?
what type of glue? Interesting question. I use Type Bond, regular, original. That's me. And I didn't bring it, but I've gotten to where I've used a little of the Gorilla Glue. Don't get the expanding. You do not want the expanding.
Gorilla wood glue.
Yes, the Gorilla Wood Glue. I know there's a difference, and you'll find out why I say don't get the expanding if you buy it. You won't use it on very much. That's good for certain projects, but it's not good for turning bowls. But I just like Type Bond Original, and whatever preference you have, be sure and put a good application on it, and just when you're gluing it up, just spread it out even, and get a good coating, because that's what's holding your veneers. As you put your plywood together, that's what keeps it from going into outer space. Well, see, I've already turned this one, and if I was making it from scratch, which would be this, you see, I put a tenon on both sides. That way, when I get out of here, I can flip it over, and I can go either way. And then when I get into the bowl, I'll show you. I'll put a recess. I'll put a recess on one side, and I'll flip it over. I'll have my tenon on where I'm cutting out the bowl. I'll put my tenon in, then I can work my recess, turn my recess over, and then I can finish the bowl. But I just put on these, I put 2 tenons, because you're going to flip it over here, then you'll drill most of that out as you get into it. What I do is divide it into thirds. This is about 6 inches, so we're about 2 inches down, and you can make any design you want to make on it. It's up to you. But I found out it looks close to what we're passing around if you divide it into thirds. So just come down from the top. You can make any shape in here. You can shape it any way you want to. I just go usually by the look, whatever mood I'm in.
Did you pass out the,
And then
Carl, did you pass out the handout?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, they're out. So what you do when you're going in at it, I found out it works pretty good on that Walmart battery. If I go about deep in the bit, I'm running it to the top of my Forstner. And that's an 1.5-inch Forstner, and then if you was doing your candle, it's a lot thinner. And you'll see with being a lot thinner for the candle, you'll do about half, and that way it fits fairly flush on the top. And that's all there is to a candle holder. You can embellish them by putting lines on them, stripe them. There's 1,000 different ways you can go with that. Now we're ready. Next thing, while I'm doing this, Robust has come out, and I don't work for Robust. I don't promote nothing, but last year I went to the symposium over to Nashville, and the guy that owns Robust walked by there, and he said I'd seen him from SWAT and different places, so I knew who he was. He said, "Come here a minute." I walked over, he said, "What you got?" He said, "Well, he come out with a new tool." He says these are for lidded boxes. And I'll pass it around, but by the time it gets through, I'm gonna use it. I like them on bowls for one reason. The traditional robust has the wings on the side. If I'm in that bowl, I can only go in so far, and I'm gonna hit the top of the bowl. With this one here, I can go all the way to the bottom of that bowl. I like it. They're flat, and you'll have to get used to laying your tools down flat. But other than that, if you're doing bowls, but he said he built them for lidded boxes. But it's a unique tool. And then, as you see, we talked about the veneer on the plywood. I did this afternoon. I glued it up yesterday. This was 3 veneer. It had 2 of the light color, and the walnut veneer was in the middle. The 3 veneer, when you got down to the detail, it's not real good. You'll eat through the veneer and it'll snap it just about every time. If I'd have seen it yesterday or turned it yesterday, I'd have probably made another. But in my haste, I just took a piece of walnut this afternoon, turned it down, glued it in. But that shows you, and when I built this one up, I 45 your pieces, and that makes your stripes come this way. It'll throw everything on an angle. As you've seen the bowl going around, Hal laid them down flat. These are stood up on the block. As you see, you'll see later, and it's just, you can do anything you want to on how to design it. That has nothing to do with the bowl. Like I say, the bowl going around, the grain's this way. So the stripes on your plywood, which are natural, are this way. Each veneer will be a different layer. I like plywood also, if you're doing segmented, I like to make the signature ring. I'll take some of the plywood sometimes. You can buy that 1/2 inch, and that's what that is on that little goblet. You can get it over to you'd have to look for it, but Home Depot has it. You just have to look for it. And then I do things a little bit different than most. Most of my turning, and I've turned 12-inch logs, I've turned 14-inch. This stubby, I can take that. I don't say there's anything wrong with it. Whatever you like, do it. And I break tradition, and some people, they kind of go bonkers when you break tradition, but if I'm the one doing it, whatever I find easy for me is the way I do it. And I've looked at a lot of things. I've been around construction all my life, so I look at ways to better what I did. When I was building houses, I looked at a better way to build a house. A faster, more efficient. The stubby, they say, oh, you can't hold a log. I hadn't had any trouble yet. And it may be the 1001 that'll fly off and kill me. But as long as I have tension on this side, I don't think that thing will fly off there. I won't say it can't, because as sure as I do that, somebody will come back from the hospital and haunt me. But I've never had any trouble. And stubby's easy because I can take the stubby out after I get my tenon or my recess. I flip my chuck's already on. I don't ever take the chuck off the lathe. I just flip it over. I've centered this one up, and I just run it up there and go to work. And like I say, I got to where I like it. I think Sorby made that one there, but I don't know if one's better than the other. You just run it up, and you'll see it catch on the rough side, and you just go from there. And then the tradition that really drives people crazy, and I don't understand why, and I got to where I don't worry about it. Most people with plywood tell you to dull your tools. And I said before when I did both, working with your tools will dull your tools. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to dull your tools, don't work. Simple as that. I seen that cardboard glued together in Atlanta, and you talk about something dull tools. The guy said he bought a cheap set of tools to turn cardboard. He would glue cardboard up and turn it. Oh, it's interesting. But like I said, he bought a whole set of tools because he's sharpening them so much. And he'd break and sharpen, just constant sharpening. And the thing I didn't like about the cardboard, it's nasty, dusty. This drives people crazy, and I had never understood it. And I've argued with the past president here one night, and he thought I was the most ignorant fool in the world. I said, well, I'll die the most ignorant fool in the world. I like easy wood. And it doesn't have to be easy wood. They got carbide hunter. I'll show you a hunter tool here in a minute. Carbide's good because you don't have to sharpen it every 2 seconds. I can go to work and do anything I want to with these carbide. I teach my grandson. I think the first time he came out in the shop, he was about 7, maybe 8. In 5 minutes, I had him turning ink pens, and I could turn my back on him. They're hard to catch. Anything will catch. I could catch anything. Ram it in there, it's going to catch. But normal use, proper use, I can turn a kid loose on him and let him go and not worry too much about him because they're hard to catch. And if you have fun turning, what difference does it make? When I'm starting out, I'm now at about 600. And as you get roughed out with your rougher, then you get on and turn up, dial it up here in a few minutes. And like I say, you don't want to do that. The first thing I do, I'll turn the bowl shape on the back, and then I'll cut my tenon on the front. Then I'll flip it over, and I'll cut my recess out in the clear, and I can get to it easy and operate easy that way. And again, that's just the way I do it. However you want to get to it, doesn't make much difference. Once you get all the birds knocked off, and I round mine on the bandsaw. I'll round one, rough cut on the bandsaw. I found it's easier. I don't have to, if you cut one, then you do them square like this. But what you're going to do, every time you flip a corner, you're going to hit that end of that veneer, and you're going to have veneer flipping off there and tearing off there and going everywhere. So as I turned, I learned a couple of things that not real good to do, and that's one of them. Like I say, plywood makes a real rough cut. You see chips coming out right now. Once you get it knocked off, I'll go to my finisher and it can round it to it. All you got to remember about the easy wood, hold it level, fairly level. I turn mine just a hair, and I do that so it clears the end. And he's got a little bevel on the end when he made them, but I tilt it down just a hair below where I'm up above level a little bit. And that way my tool doesn't bind up down low. And you take bow gouge. This is Thompson, whatever bow gouge. This bow gouge does good. Like that, once you get to doing it, it's easy to work. I'm up about 950 now. That's about 1220. I'm gonna put a rim. I like rims on a lot of stuff too. I'm gonna put a rim on this
What is that, Carl?
It is a requirement of the AAW.
Carl, what was that you just used?
That's it.
Huh?
What was that you just used?
I'm making the spigot pinning for the backside. I just got a gauge here where I'll just come in and that way it'll fit my jaws. I say I'll flip it over and then I can do the rest of the bowl. Then I can turn I'll turn a recess on the bottom. I like the way a recess. I just like putting recesses on the bottom of stuff because it looks somewhat professional.
Yeah, you don't have to take it out.
Do what?
And you don't have to take it out when you're done.
Yeah, I'll turn it over here in just a minute. I'm gonna get into it. Here in just a second, I'm gonna get into it.
What happens if you roll that tool up a little on about 45? You get a shear cut, does it give you a smoother cut that way?
Say what?
If you take the tool, you're using the flat. What happens if you roll, as you try rolling it up on an angle? What happens then?
Well, this is not made. Hunter's got a tool right there.
With the flat cutter like that. Can you do a shear scrape with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, Hunter tool's better. He got his design now with the 4-bar. He used to have round.
Yeah.
Come out that 4-bar. Well, he put another angle on there at 45. I'd shear right there.
It gives you a better finish?
Huh?
Does it give you a better finish?
Oh, goodness, yes. Goodness, yes. Well, which Hunter does something on his carbide too that's different. He rolls his carbide. Them are flat. That's just a flat carbide.
Yeah.
Well, he put a little bitty ring roll on there, and boy, you can put some smooth stuff. I can do it pretty good. And I'll tilt it sometimes, but you got to be careful tilting it because it's square stop and it wants to flop. You have to hold on to it. But usually if you just come in there and just come in square, you work it out fairly smooth. With plywood, you're going to find the extra work of plywood comes on the finishing. It's going to be super rough, and I'll show you in a minute, even with what I'm doing right now. You're going to have some tear out. Well, on the tear out, you take, like right now, there's tear out all over in here. Well, when I got it to, when I flip it over and I start doing my last, I'll take some of this sawdust and glue and just put glue in that hole and just rub sawdust in it. And then you'll come back after that dries and you can sand it and do pretty good that way. Now see, I've got it pretty much roughed in like I want right there. So, I take out my stubby. And I can take this right now and set it right in here. And I'm ready to go again. I'll take my pattern again, and I'll use the same side, small side. That's for a bigger chuck, but I'll use this one on the small side. And all I do is center up that hole, and I'll make my recess where I think. Now take a part tool, and I'll make my recess. And I'll just take my rubber and I can rub the inside out. Once you get to that point, see you want to do some more to the sides. Which I got a little place I need to hit right up there. Once you get everything on the outside desired, then you can flip it over. And Figure out what depth I want. And I mark on my tools. Usually I carry a felt marker, or I have one right by me there, and I'll mark on my tools. It'll all come off so it won't hurt them. Once you get the depth. Yep. And once you get a hole drilled in the middle, and you could drill a big hole if you want to, save yourself a lot of trouble. It don't matter what hole you drill in there, just as long as you don't go through the bottom of it. And then once you get that, and a lot of times I'll drill a 2.5, 3 inch hole in a bowl, depending on if I want to turn one and get into it. So it just saves you a lot of trouble because all you're doing there is eat the wood out. Or let the drill bit do it for you. Where'd that other guy rest go?
What is that upright pin on the end used for?
Keep it from sliding off the end.
You have that problem?
Huh?
You have that problem?
Well, if you did, you'd be out the bottom of your bowl. It's a safety pin. You'll see here in just a second what I'm saying.
I've never had that yet.
When I get up in here, if I ain't got that pin, I make boom and go right on off the side. But a lot of times you're looking over here and you're moving your tool without looking at your tool. You do it in your mind. So when I get up there, I feel that stop's gonna stop it. That way I just can't keep going clean on over to Georgia.
You can also lever against it.
But see, as I said, this rest, once you get used to it, you'll like it if you buy one. But with the flexibility,
That's very similar.
as you say, see there, when I get up to here, if I was in a deep bowl, I'm handicapped right there. As far as that rest can go, because I'm going to be up on that rim.
I know, I got one just like it.
So I can go now, I can turn this thing, I can go clean to the bottom. I can put that almost to the bottom of the bowl, and I can get my tool in there and not mess around with that. I like it. The minute I say, all you got to remember, you're going to have to hold it, your tool flat. If you can tilt them down a little, but if you tilt it up, the downstroke's going to keep beating your arm like that. You'll be like a chicken with its wings cut off. See, I do that right there, and I hit that stop, and then I know that's the end of the line.
no more.
Elbow gouge there.
He's about to come off the lake.
You don't do that but one time. Once you get that, you set up your set up, get your wall thickness established. You reach right in there with a lidded. If you cut into where you thought you was out here on your lidded, you'll be through your sidewalk. You ain't careful. Usually when I get to turning plywood, I'll turn the speed down on the sides too. That helps some with the vibration. And I've made my own depth gauge, and I know I'm not close yet, but I can go either way. I could set it, if I wanted to, I could set it in between the rims there, but usually I just keep it flat because a lot of times I'm doing a bigger bowl, but I tell exactly where I'm at. A lot of times I preset it up to there, but usually I drill my hole, I'll be fairly accurate following the hole. Funny about how the human mind is made up. A lot of people, they spend a lot of time with their gauges and all that, and that's good. That's good. But you know that your mind is automatically, if you feel with your fingers, you can be, I forgot how close it is to actual. If you every once in a while, I got to where I take my hand, I'll go down that rim, and I can be fairly close by feeling with your finger. But that's all in your mind. Your mind automatically gets whatever dimension you're feeling. And by mind, you can get pretty close. then you don't have to worry. But if the first time you ever do a recess, you may forget you'll be through the bottom of the bowl. Because what you're gauging on this outside, your recess is up in there. So whatever you recessed it, you got to allow for it, or you will have a hole in the bottom of the bowl you got to repair. And I've done that the first time I ever recessed one. I usually pencil mark my sides, that way I can look in there and see where I'm. See, once you get into, and if you was into a deeper bowl, you'd really see where it comes in. I'd turn that thing right in there like that, and I'm not having to worry about anything down here catching the side of the bowl. Usually I got a side light right here, and I can see the shadow a lot better with a side light. We're getting close. About a quarter. See if we was getting done, and you, like I say, you can go back up here on your boards, you put a little glue in there, you rub that sawdust in that, you'll have natural feel. And you're gonna have some tear outs. That's why if you avoid, right off the bat, if you see you got voids in your plywood, get another piece. Put another strip on it or whatever, but don't turn with voids, because it'll catch on your tool, it'll shred it. Then you'll have firewood.
Does that get hard, real hard?
Huh?
Does it get real hard? Does that get real hard?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's just like you're filling with your fine dust back there. Yeah, it'll harden up. I can turn it when I get usually when I do it though, I do it right there at the end, and I'll run my rough paper on it.
Does it affect your finish?
It fills up the board.
Yeah,
Plus,
but can you put a finish over it?
It's a natural filler. Do what?
Okay, you can put a finish over it.
Usually when I'm doing plywood, and I got to where I like the oils. I'll put a Danish or a tongue or a walnut, or I like linseed. Linseed goes good on plywood. And the only thing that we have found with bowls, and I told my wife, but sometimes one of us is hard of hearing. Oh, blame her. I'll tell her 1,000 times, hey, you can't submerge these things in water. Well, she took a plywood bowl, she kept washing it, and she kept washing it and kept washing it. Well, down one of the plies, it busted loose. Because over a period of time, the glue give loose. There's a
I
bowl.
bet it takes dye as good, doesn't it? Did you hear me? I said, I bet it takes dye as good. Have you tried that?
I hadn't tried it, but it does,
I bet it would.
Yes. And there's something I'm going to venture into, but I've got to go, the only place I know would be order. I'm going to get into some of that Spectaply.
Yeah,
Spectaply is a natural dye, 1,000 colors.
When you put it together, you could dye each piece a different color. It would be pretty.
I put